Hi everyone, Michelle Fixit. I had a CT Myelogram done on Thursday, which is when they put a needle in my spine and injected dye in order to try to find my CSF leak. As my burn score says that I should have a CSF leak. And I was really nervous about doing the CT Myelogram because I was worried that I was going to get another leak. And I think that's what's happened because it's now currently Sunday and I've been laying down since Thursday, and every time I get up I have excruciating head pain because I know what it feels like to be low pressure in this whole medical journey thing that I've been on. And so Thursday went in, they said that I could do Anastasia if I wanted to, so I did elect to do that. I got there early. We were there for a while. They said I couldn't eat anything after midnight the day before, so I did that. The CT Miley was really painful. I didn't research it a ton before I had it done, and that's kind of on me. I was more worried about the blood patch or the possibility of needing a blood patch. And they put it in, they put the needle in, and they gave me this whole spiel about how the needles were like a slicing needle instead of a stabby needle. And so it should have been less likely for me to get a leak. So I felt really confident in my doctor's confidence in the doctor that did the procedure. It was moved around, like even with sedation, it still really hurt. Like it wasn't like I was completely under. And they had me on one side and they did different images, and they like had me rotate with being on my stomach over to the other side. And then when they injected the dye, that really burned. And then like they moved the needle around, and so the whole experience was just like horrific. It was really bad, and I didn't expect it to be that bad. And they lifted my legs up, so I was on my side, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna lift you. And with the type of sedation, like it's all kind of fuzzy, but like the pain is still there. And then they had me lay down for a couple hours after the procedure. And I should have known because I've had a lumbar puncture in the past, and because something was abnormal and my neurologist wanted to do a lumbar puncture and I was like, okay, sure. That was many years ago. And I had a confirmed spinal leak from that. And after the lumbar puncture, I felt a little off, and I went home and they told me I was supposed to lay down, and I laid down. And then when I went to try to get up, I had like killer head, neck, everything, nausea, and I was down for like 3 days. And then I called because like on the weekend I didn't have anywhere to call, and then I called on Monday and they're like, oh yeah, you probably have a spinal leak and a CSF leak, and if you would have let us know within the first 48 hours, then we could have done a blood patch, but it should heal, so just like overly caffeinate up. So that messed me up for a while, and I just became really like, caffeine, soda, Coke dependent, like Coca-Cola. And life moved on because I didn't realize that like CSF leaks sometimes don't fix themselves. So just made do. And so after the CT Myelogram, being a little bit more informed, I still should have known and should have realized that like when they brought me back into recovery after the procedure, like I was really messed up. I was really, really nauseous, and my head was really, really killing me, and my neck, my back, and like everything was hard. And so much so that like I will typically deal with pain rather than taking anything for the pain. And they gave me some pain meds because I was so messed up after anesthesia and everything. And I came back to the house laying down. Like I rode in the car laying down, no seatbelt in the back seat, which is a huge anxiety thing for me because I wear my seatbelt and I get really grumpy. And I get car sick in the back seat, but I knew that laying down was like the best thing for me. So it was a struggle to get up the stairs. And I've been laying down this whole time. So Thursday I laid down, Friday I laid down, Saturday I laid down. Saturday night my husband was like, you really need to call them because you're really not doing any better, because like every time I get up I'm like falling over like to my left side, and then my head feels like somebody's smushing it, and my neck, like I can't, my neck is so stiff I can't move it. I have to like move my whole torso or just like turn my whole body. I can't move my neck. And I vomited. And I'm just in a lot of pain. And so Saturday night at 9 p.m. I finally realized that like I'm really not doing any better, and all I'm doing is laying down. and I'm so stubborn. I'm like, I'm gonna be upright. I'm gonna like challenge myself to try to be upright and see if like the pain is less. And it doesn't get less. It stays the same. It's really bad. It just gets worse. So I called and they were like, oh yeah, somebody's gonna call you back. And nobody called me back. And then I called again at like 10 or 11 or something, and nobody called me back. And I was miserable all night long. And then my husband tried to call in the morning while I was asleep, and they were like, yeah, if you don't know our information and you're not the patient, we can't do anything. So then I called, and they're like, somebody's gonna call you back in half an hour. And I waited an hour and 10 minutes and nobody called me back. So then I called back, and in this tone, because this is all the energy I have to speak. And if you see any of my other videos, you'll be like, wow, what happened to Michelle Fix It? This is what happened to Michelle Fix It. But so I was like, look, I've been calling. I have 2 children. I cannot be stuck in a bed and not being able to take care of my 2 children. I require assistance. I've done my research. I think I need a blood patch. This is really bad. And they're like, well, we don't do blood patches on the weekend. So you're going to have to stay the way you are, caffeinate, take Tylenol, do whatever you can do to feel decent. And then you're going to have to drive the hour, maybe 2 hours, depending on traffic, to our hospital tomorrow. We're going to try to schedule an appointment for you. You need to be there at 8:30 a.m. And we're going to see if you need a blood patch. I'm like, okay, well, that's great. I can't be upright without agonizing pain. Like, how am I supposed to do this? They're like, well, we're going to call and schedule your appointment. And then you need to call while you're on your way there, letting them know that they need to schedule you for this appointment. And you're just going to have to, like, wait it out. So that's my current situation. And I was told that, like, there's a needle for the epidural. Like, you can get a smaller one, and there's one that, like, punctures, and then there's one that slices. And then on, like, the Facebook groups that I'm on, they're talking about the one that, like, punctures is better than the one that slices. My doctor told me the opposite. So I don't know what to do. All I know is that, like, I'm in a ridiculous amount of pain. Like, I have patches on my head, and I have patches on my neck, and I can't really do anything. And my dad's having to help take care of my children, and my husband, Kat, is doing his best to caretake me, and, like, our medical system sucks. It just does. And I get it. Like, doctors just mainly care that, like, we need to not be dying. And I'm not dying, but I have no quality of life right now. I have literally been laying in bed Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 4 days. And it'll be 5 days tomorrow. There needs to be a better way. So this is part of my CSF leak journey, my POTS journey, my EDS journey. And I I feel so silly saying, like, the journey stuff, because, like, that's the trendy thing to say, but it's taken me 18 years to get here, and I feel like I made a big mistake, because, like, if they don't find where my leak is after all this, I basically put myself out of commission for 5 days on a chance of, like, them figuring something out. And ironically, like, after the MRI, which was my first initial stuff, and getting my burn score of, like, hey, you very likely have a leak, because burn score is, like, doesn't say 100% if you have a leak or not, but it, like, tells you the likelihood, and there's a very high likelihood that I have a leak. And that's even with, like, the MRI, the first one that I was in, like, broke, and they had me laying down for 3 hours, so I had more time to pressurize before they put me in another one, and I still had a burn score that said that I was leaking, which my neurosurgeon was pretty impressed by, and pretty impressed with my functionality, because of the duration of how long I've been leaking. And he was like, well, his office called and made it seem like he really wanted me to have a CT Miley graph done. And then when I saw him, he was like, well, you know, if we find it, then we have a 96% rate of successfully patching leaks. And blind patches have like a 40, 50, 60% range. Like, it all depends on the patient and subsequent patches and stuff. And, like, I did not want to take the gamble of ending up in this condition. I wanted to just try to do blind blood patches. But after he said all the stuff that he said about the epidural needles and the confidence he had in the neuroradiologist and everything else, I was like, well, my dad's here, my husband has availability, so I might as well get it done. And now I'm worried that I'm going to start back on square one of leak days, because this isn't the first time that I felt this way. I felt this way after my first daughter. I felt this way after my second daughter. I felt this way after my lumbar puncture. And I felt this way after having my son. The only difference is I actually know what's wrong with me this time. But I also know how long it takes without an epidural blood patch, because I haven't had an epidural blood patch before. I know how long it takes to feel decent. Not good, but decent. And my baseline has been decent for many years. Many, many years. Over half my life, I think. And I just think it's garbage that it takes so long and it takes so much work to find out what's wrong with you, to know what's wrong with you, to have diagnostic imaging concur with what is wrong with you, and to still end up in this position. We need to do better. So I'll update you guys as things progress, but as of right now, I'm flat on my side because I can't be on my back because it's too painful. Caffeinating, Tylenoling, and waiting for tomorrow morning so that I can ride in a back seat, laying down to the hospital, put my husband through the stress of trying to find a way to get me into the hospital with as much lay down time period as possible. And we'll see how it goes. And then I will report after my appointment. So you guys like and subscribe. Have a great day. And if you're on the CSF leak journey, I'll try to document. I didn't want to document whenever I was like, felt like I was dying in the hospital. So I just tell you guys. And I don't feel like I'm dying, but I feel like I'm in a lot of pain. And this is such a crappy experience. And hopefully, at some point in time, when these videos roll through of me feeling like this, I'll be like, man, I remember that. That was horrible. So if you're at the beginning stages of your CSF leak journey, or just finding out that, like, it's not always just POTS. POTS is a syndrome, secondary syndrome, oftentimes, of something else. And you can equate it to houses, where it's like, if your drywall is coming down in your room, are you just going to patch the drywall? Or are you going to find out why the drywall is leaking? Because it's just going to come down again if you don't find out that you have a leak in your roof, and the water and the moisture intrusion, and then it creates mold and mildew and compromises the integrity of the drywall, and then it falls in. You're just throwing more drywall up there and not fixing the actual problem. You're just going to become a professional drywall installer for your room. So let's start working towards finding fixes and not just medicating people for random things. Just a Michelle Fix-It perspective, laying down edition. You guys have a great day. And if you're upright and you're without pain, appreciate that. So hopefully by the time this rolls around, I'll be upright and I won't be in pain. And I will appreciate that. I'll see you next time. Bye.